This is the BBK Blackout intake, and it's available for the 2016 and newer Camaro SS. Now, you should be checking out the BBK option for your 6.2 if you're looking for an extremely popular system here on the site that will boast a stealthy all-black build to help increase the power and sound out of your naturally aspirated LT1 without the need of any additional tuning. So the big feature that is unique to the Blackout intake from BBK is the blacked out appearance, with the exception of things like the high flow oiled filter and the included coupler. We'll talk more about the actual components here in our construction block up next, but let's get into some of the other features. And of course, the biggie that Camaro owners are looking forward to here is power. Now, BBK claims that with this system installed, it will help contribute to gains of as much as 12 to 18 horsepower over the stock gearbox without the use of any tuning. Now, on top of that, SS owners can also look forward to things like increased throttle response and a noticeable increase in sound coming from under the hood during hard acceleration. Now, of course, your final feature here, again, we're getting back to that appearance. And again, that really nice all black appearance is really stealthy and certainly will make a big impact whenever you pop the hood. Now, this is a great time to segue into our construction, and the modern BBK Blackout option is going to incorporate a black rotomolded plastic tube here in place of the chrome tube that BBK has used in the past. Now, I really do dig the black polymer or plastic tube for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, it is going to be less susceptible to heat soak when compared to the chrome option. Secondly, it is going to be responsible for that stealthier blacked out appearance, as the name suggests. Now, that same material is going to be used in the molded airbox here that is open, but it does incorporate some weather stripping to seal to the underside of your hood to help keep that heat out. Now, that open element design does allow for more induction noise, as we mentioned in our features block, and that is a nice little byproduct of this particular design. Of course, we do have the signature blue BBK oiled filter. This is a high flow reusable option that will essentially last you the life of your ride as long as you clean it and re-oil it every so often. Now, in addition to that, BBK does incorporate their blue coupler here, in addition to all the worm clamps, hardware, and everything else needed for a pretty straightforward install. Price point for the BBK will land in that very low $400 range, putting this system in line with other more premium options from companies like K&N, Engine, and Cold Air Inductions, just to name a few. All right, last but not least, let's talk install. And the site's gonna call this a pretty straightforward 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, taking you about 30 minutes or so to complete from start to finish. And now, to give you a better idea of how this one might go down on your Camaro at home, let's throw it out to the shop for our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown.
For this install, you need a ratchet, extension, 8 and T20 socket, 7/8 wrench, 5 and 2.5 millimeter Allen wrench, diagonal cutters, and a flathead screwdriver. All right, today we're gonna be installing an intake on our Camaro. First, we're gonna watch a quick video how to uninstall a stock one, then we'll come back here to install the new one.
So our first step is gonna be to disconnect our mass airflow sensor. So we have 2 T20 torque screws that we need to remove, and then we can just slide it right out of our tube. So now we can disconnect our crankcase fitting. So there's going to be a gray tab on the back, and you push in, pop right off like that. And then next, we have to disconnect this one-time use clamp, so we'll have to cut that off and then remove it. All right, now our next step is to loosen our clamp, and we can do that with an 8mm socket, and then we can lift this whole airbox out.
All right, now that we have our intake off, the only thing we need to do now on our stock intake is take this box off back here. We're gonna be reusing that on our new one. So you can grab your diagonal cutters and cut that clamp off if you want. But this actually is pretty loose and you can just twist it out. Good, set that aside, get this out of the way, and we'll start getting our new intake together. So before we get our intake into our car, we're just gonna do a little bit of assembly. Now I took our mass airflow sensor out just to unplug it. I'll show you how the clip works when we go back together. But we're gonna get this set into place. Bolts only line up one way. We're gonna grab our two 2.5mm Allen bolts, thread those in. All right. On the bottom side, you're gonna see your threaded port here. That's gonna be our adapter for our box that we took off. We're gonna thread this in, grab a 7/8 wrench, tighten this down. Now this doesn't need to be that tight, just make sure it's oriented correctly. It's gonna be sitting in the car like so, so you're gonna want it facing towards the back of the engine. Let's go around one more time. Now on that, we're gonna have our piece of hose that goes on it. We're gonna have a hose clamp. Grab the hose clamp, your hose, 8mm socket, we can tighten that down. Then we're gonna grab our tube. It's gonna sit like this. Make sure you don't put it on this end. That's where that clip goes onto. Now this is a little tight, so you just gotta work it on. You don't need a clamp for this because it is so tight. Just let that rest there. If we need to make any adjustment, we can. Last thing on the tube is just our grommet for our tube that's still in there. Just roll it in place, and we can set this aside. So now we're gonna get our grommet adapters on. Now they are two-piece. We have an Allen bolt with our adapter. So our bolt's gonna go through this inside here, and then flip up and thread that on. We're gonna grab a 5mm Allen wrench, tighten that down. Snug that up, and you can go ahead and do the same thing for your other two. There's one down here and one right here. Lastly, we're just gonna get our trim on our box. You'll see the groove down here. That's just gonna snap over the top. Just start here and just work your way around. All right, and just keep working around. All right, now you see it doesn't go away. It's not a big deal. If you honestly want to make it uniform, you can cut it a little short, but we're just gonna leave this like so. All right, now as you can see, we have trim going around the whole top of this. After looking at some pictures, I did see it's supposed to go around the top. Looks like we just got a bad one. You just wanna make sure that you have the right parts before starting to install it. Should fit all the way around. We just have a spare section just to make it look good, but just double check yours before you install it. Now let's go ahead and get this in the car. So we're gonna get our box set in. Just make sure your grommets are in the body. We are missing one, no big deal. It'll still be fine. Get all these lined up. Push down and secure it into place. We're gonna grab our intake tube. Now I did have to take off the vent tube and the mass airflow sensor. Didn't realize that you had to fish it through. No big deal. You saw how those go on, and we're just gonna screw them back on real quick. But it feeds through the air box like so. We'll get these back on and then get our coupler on. So we'll get our intake tube, we'll get our coupler on it. Now there's two different sizes. Larger will go over the intake tube, smaller will go over the throttle body. I have both of our clamps set over it. Put that over our tube and then feed it over our throttle body. I just need to loosen this clamp up a little bit. All right, so that's all held in place. We'll grab our ratchet, 8mm socket, tighten down our two clamps here. So we're gonna start working our way out. So we're gonna get our sound tube in through our grommet here. Work that in. We have our vent tube from our valve cover. Plug that into our box. and then plug our mass airflow sensor back in. You'll see the little tab. Make sure you secure down the red locking tab. The last thing we need to do is put our air filter on. So we're gonna grab our air filter and our clamp here. We're gonna set this over our tube, grab our ratchet extension 8mm socket, tighten that down. And that wraps up our install of our BBK Cold Air Intake Blackout for our 2016 to 24 Camaro SS. And remember, for everything Camaro, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.